Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for clicking on the video. Today we're going to look at the Survivor Conspiracy Iceberg. Now, if you guys don't know how icebergs work, basically how it works is the top of the list, like the Beast Shell and the Weasel Woo, are like the most common instances of whatever we're talking about, which in this case is Survivor Conspiracies. And the bottom gets more unknown and dark and sinister. Um, so we'll have to discover that as it goes. But to start out, we have Bichelle, and also to preface, I've done this research beforehand, so a lot of these are really known, like Mortgagegate and like the bottle twist and stuff like that, or Fiji being race wars. But then there's some that like people don't really know about, like Thailand was season 2, and Jenna Lewis, video destroyed, stuff like that. And some of these are pretty interesting. So before we start, 95% of you watching this video are not subscribed, which is an absolute travesty. It's free. It doesn't take a lot of time. So if you get a chance, please do that. Turn notifications on as well. Thank you very much for watching. Let's get into it. So starting off, Bichelle is a reference to a leak that came before season 40 that claimed that on season 40, Michelle was going to come out as bi. Obviously, it didn't come true. And there's like comments on Twitter of her talking about how she's at least jokingly saying that she's bi or part of the LGBTQ community or whatever. So yeah, that's basically the entirety of Bichelle. It's pretty well known, and that's why it's at the top of the list. Moving to the other one in the top category, we have Weasel Woo, and this one for me is the most, probably like the second or third most interesting one on the entire list. So I have an article from Inside Survivor on my phone, and basically what Weasel Woo is, it starts out really simple and it goes like down a really really long like hole. So it starts out with people called Weasel Woo on Kageyan, he got that nickname, and some people claim that it came from Tony. Some people claim that it came from like the just our original Brains tribe, or like the people at the merge. And that's like where it is on the surface level. But then when you really get down to it, no one's ever like really come up with a real explanation for why he was called Weasel Woo. And so I found this article, and I found a quote from Trish in a post game interview from Kageyan, where she said Woo's a really nice guy, but I never trusted him. I always thought he's a bit of a weasel. He had done some things at the beginning of the game that led him to be very untrustworthy that they didn't show on camera. There are certain things that I really can't just talk about right now, but that would give you an example. But I can't, because it's behind the scenes, and I'm not allowed to. But there were things that happened, and I just can't discuss them, that led me to believe that he was very untrustworthy. And she said this in a post season interview, and she's very vague, but obviously, with this, she basically described that something happened off camera with Wu, specifically in the pre-merge, that other contestants were, yelled at by production for telling about, you know, um, like for an example, Spencer said in a interview postseason, there's like a, there's a lot to it. But at one point, when Sarah explained some of it to us on the island, she got yelled at by production. So I don't think it's something the show would want me discussing. I'll just say that Wu wasn't nearly as well liked as he was portrayed to be, and for pretty good reason. So this further, says something is not as we think it is. And as the article goes through, there's like a lot of theories that come up. Very, very like interesting theories. Some kind of outlandish and some not. Like one of the theories is that he was spying on people going to the bathroom, or that he was sneakily watching other contestants' confessionals and stuff like that. But the actual answer is pretty mundane. It's just when the Braun tribe, there was a storm in the pre-merge on the Braun tribe, and he snuck away and found an abandoned producer tent, and he just stayed there and ate food. That's what the actual thing is. But it goes down a really big rabbit hole, and it's very interesting if you want to check it out more. Fiji was supposed to be race wars, so this one is essentially um, production had cast Fiji right after Cook Islands, and Cook Islands was a race war season, and Fiji had an evenly divided 20-person cast, where there were 5 white, 5 black, 5 Latino, and 5 Asian. But then the castaway that quit before production started, her name was Melissa McNulty. She because she quit before filming started. Her like she imbalanced like the tribes, and therefore they just ditched the race wars thing, and they instead went with just the have versus have nots twist. Production gave Ben the idols. This one's pretty self-explanatory. The rumor is just that production gave Ben the idols and or directed him towards where he could find the idols. Um, there isn't much evidence other than the fact that the way that he found them was just so like odd and it felt kind of rigged. Next up, we have Purple Kelly's sundress scandal. So this is interesting. I couldn't find a lot on it, and I really had to dig deep, and I finally found what it meant after really getting deep on the internet. And essentially, what this is obviously Purple Kelly's famous for quitting, and then production getting mad at her for quitting, and therefore under editing her on her season. And the rumor is that production knew, or production had not given her a lot of clothes. Because they thought that she was going to get voted off early, and in fact, the rumor is that they actually told her that she was going to be a pre-merge boot, and therefore just gave her a bikini so that in the short time that she was there, they could get the eye candy. But then she ended up not being a pre-merge boot, and she ended up quitting. And so the rumor is kind of that production caused her quitting inadvertently by not giving her anything except for a sundress and her bathing suit. And that's the entire conspiracy. Bob is a predator. So this one alludes to it's kind of vague. There are some claims that Bob touched some people in inappropriate ways, specifically in the pre-merge, and specifically like in ways that are kind of like kind of how Big Tom like did it like sneakily, kind of like sneakily touched, like not like really did it, but like enough to the point where it's like kind of fishy and it's kind of like unacceptable. And it came out after the whole dance below thing. I forget. I think it was Ken on Gabon had claimed that Bob had touched some girls inappropriately. I think specifically Paloma and Kelly. So yeah, that's just the more you know. Christy meant to vote for Matthew is just a simple one. This is in Amazon. Christy was part of the jury, and she had vowed that she would never vote for any of the quote unquote mean girls. One of those mean girls got to the end, Jenna, and the other person was Matthew. And the rumor is that Christy meant to vote for Matthew, but she didn't understand that she was voting for a winner, and she thought she was voting against a winner, so she voted against Jenna, but it ended up being for Jenna because it's final tribal council, and that's how that works. Tony's left arm is a rumor alluding to like a shot that showed that Tony's left arm was actually more bent than the rest of the people in like the challenge, because the challenge was the one where you have to hold your arm up, and his arm was bent and everyone else's arm was straight, and so the rumor is that the production made it easier for him to do the challenge because they wanted him to win the challenge. Lastly, in the third category, the bottle twist was rigged. So this is alluding to the bottle twist in Cook Islands in the pre-merge when the I-24 was down to 4, and it was, I believe, 8-4 at this point, or 9-4. And in order to, and production had basically, the rumor is that the bottle twist, which caused whoever went to tribal to vote 2 people out. The rumor is that if the I-24 had lost, they would have not made them vote 2 people out, and they would have swapped the notes that were in the bottle. And that's the whole conspiracy, is that the production was only going to use that specific twist, like that specific note in the bottle, only if the quote unquote white tribe, or I think their name started with a K, if they had lost in the challenge. So that's pretty interesting. Micronesia camp raid. So this one alludes to a rumor that Alexis, James, and Jason, I believe, the 3, had snuck into a production camp and just ransacked all of the food there, and they ended up getting caught, and that's why they were kind of systematically eliminated. And the rumor is that because James got taken out by uh what's it called? James got taken out by a medical evacuation, and so people claim that production did that, and then Alexis got taken out by pretty obvious idol play, and people claim that production did that, and so people claim that production, because they got caught sneaking into the camp raid, that they actually ended up like getting systematically eliminated by production, and that's the entire rumor. Moving on, we have the Michelle Yee Ponderosa. This one's pretty easy and kind of weird. It's At this point, it's like it's not even a rumor anymore. It's just kind of confirmed that Michelle Yee had, let's just say, relations with um, multiple men on Ponderosa and Fiji, which include Rocky, Edgardo, and Alex. And yeah, I'm not going to go in any more depth on that, but yeah, no, it's been alluded to by several people on the jury to the point where it's not even a rumor anymore. It's just true. So the more you know. Moving on, we have Bobby John beat Stephanie in fire. This one's pretty simple. Again, it's just that the idea that Bobby John had beaten Stephanie in fire, but production didn't like that outcome, so they just paid Bobby John off and had them redo it and have Stephanie win. That's it. Kim cheated is also a pretty simple one. Troyzan on Twitter had claimed that Kim had been talking on like the lockdown bus rides to tribal council in which no one's supposed to be allowed to talk. Kim had been talking strategy with her allies when you're supposed to be on what's called lockdown. So yeah, that's it. All right, now we're getting into some deep ones. So Kasai cocaine is a great way to start with this one. This rumor says that a block of cocaine dried up on the shore of Panama, and Shane and Ars found it, took it somewhere, and they had about a short 30-second period where no one knows what happened with it. And then after about 30 seconds, production found them and obviously took it. But no one knows if in that 30 seconds they were just talking about what they should do with it, or if they were actually taking it. And specifically, if they were taking it, they would put it on their teeth, or the gums of their teeth. And Shane, the rumors that Shane suggested that they do it for energy for the next challenge. Mike Bites Smoking the Weed is literally exactly the title. I don't even need to go into depth with this one. It's pretty common, and it's kind of self-explanatory. Moving on, we have Boston Rob, Coach, and Tyson threw HVV to get rigged victories later on. See, now this one is very interesting, because the rumor is that um, uh, in the end, it kind of worked out for Boston Rob, Coach, and Tyson because they all got a chance to play again. And so the rumor is that they ended up doing it on purpose because because it ended up helping them in the end with getting like easier seasons on captain seasons. And the idea is that everyone on the tribe benefited because they three got like better opportunities. Parvati, Danielle, and Russell survived the vote because Tyson swapped his vote. Sandra wins, so it ends up working out. Courtney's is Sandra's ally, so she theoretically she would get to the end, and Jerry fixed her public image by the end of the season. So the theory goes that everyone in the tribe just agreed to do it to have that vote happen because it benefited everybody. Fan favorites was supposed to be ASS 2, which means All Stars 2, and this is just the idea because Jeff Probst claims all the time that production never intended to do another All Stars because they wanted to quote like do something different. But the rumor goes that they actually did intend to do All Stars 2, and that all the winners declined. So they just did a fans favorite instead. Jenna Lewis family video destroyed. This one alludes to Jenna Lewis not having a family video on Borneo, how it's like a big thing, but the rumor is that production destroyed it for extra drama or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty much debunked though because her mom was on vacation. So when they called her mom, she just didn't answer at all. So that's it. Mark Vanette, or no, skip it down a little bit. Production framed Butch. This one is Butch supposedly Butch started a fire which burned their entire camp down in Amazon while they were at a challenge. And the rumor is that production started to get some extra drama, and that they just framed Butch for it because Butch had been packing on firewood, and that's why the editing for that episode where they really pack on like how he loves the firewood was so blatant because they were trying to get off the blame off of them. Mortgagegate. This one's pretty interesting. So the idea is that Sash offered Jane in Nicaragua money in order so that if he got on the jury, or so that if she got on the jury, that she would give him his vote, and he said that he would give her $100,000 out of the million, and the rumor is that they basically barred him from getting any votes at Final Tribal, but they didn't like want to have the controversy, so they let him stay in the game, and they just didn't allow anybody at Ponderosa to vote for him in the final three. And the idea is that they even stopped the final six tribal council, like the filming for it, to talk about it, and that's the rumor. Um, Moving on, blowjobs for sandwiches. This one's the idea is that Richard Hatch leaked that Kelly Wigglesworth was doing what I just said to get food from production members, and that Richard Hatch had caught them on several occasions, and the production members said that they would give him extra money on top of the million to pay off the taxes for it, and that they never gave it to him, and this is why he went to jail for tax evasion, and this is his story. So but believe who you want to believe. Mark Burnett voted out Stacey. This one's also interesting. It's actually proven right. Is that production in the third vote? Production persuaded people to vote not for Rudy, but instead for Stacey because they needed Rudy for having a fan favorite and because he like kept the old demographic watching the show, and so instead they coerced people to vote for Stacey, and I can probably believe it. And Survivor had to do what they had to do to stay on the air. So, it's tough, but she ended up suing Survivor and getting a settlement as well. So it's 100% true. Thailand was season 2. This one is probably the most interesting one to me personally. Basically, so I'm just going to pull up all of the facts. So here, the idea is that there was a mystery. There's one conspiracy that there was a mystery season filmed, but between Borneo and Australian Outback, and that this mystery season never aired because it just wasn't good enough. And somebody on Reddit had the idea that maybe that mystery season we actually did see, and that mystery season was Thailand itself. And some of the facts that prove it. Jeff openly dislikes Thailand, so this would mean that this would make sense that Jeff would want it to air. That Brian Heidig wins, so it's a very unlikable winner, and therefore they didn't want to air it. Tribal Council is super fancy, which would make sense because their budget just flew up after Borneo because they blew up. The fake merge happens, but no swap. So there's no swap yet because Africa hasn't happened yet, or neither has Australian Outback. But they do try a fake merge for their first twist ever, and it doesn't work out. And on top of that Australia and Africa are both inland, so the idea is that if Borneo and Thailand happen back to back, then Africa and Australian Outback would also happen after that to combat the fact that they were on the beach for 2 seasons. So then they went inland for 2 seasons. And also that Australian Outback is the same format as Borneo, just 3 days longer. So they wouldn't do that 2 seasons in a row because they're all about, staying on the air at that point. So that's the theory. It's very, very interesting. But the thing that really kind of puts the nail in the theory as far as it being not true is the fact that I believe it's Ken. I haven't seen this season. This is the only season I haven't seen. I believe Ken, who's a retired cop during that time, when he announced he was a cop, he got applauses because of 9/11. So if the season was filmed when Australian Outback was supposed to be filmed, then the 9/11 wouldn't have happened yet, and therefore it couldn't have been true. Last one is that beef jerky was a euphemism. I couldn't really pinpoint exactly this theory, but I understand that the beef jerky that Kels supposedly snuck into Australian Outback was just Jerry lying, and that it wasn't actually true, and that Jerry just made it up because she wanted to get Kel out. And there's not much more in depth you can get than that. There might be something more to it, but I don't really see much more than that. Yeah. Thanks for watching. 95% of you guys aren't subscribed. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. And I am doing a podcast with Snuff soon about season 41. That'll be on Snuff's channel and my channel. So go and check him out. And thank you guys so much for watching. It means a lot.